Welcome to Weight Innovation Classes Jaipur. In today's class, we are going to start a new topic called endocrinology. Okay, so endocrinology is the topic. This endocrinology deals with the study of the endocrine glands and their secretions called as hormones. Endocrinology. Okay, so endocrinology is the study of hormones and the glands that produce hormones called as endocrine glands. So, endocrinology is the study of the ductless glands called endocrine glands and the signaling molecule produced by them called as hormones. It also involves the effect. It also involves the effect of these hormones on the target cells, how they produce the effect, and what are the diseases caused due to the deficiency of hormones. All is involved in the endocrinology. So when you see the endocrine glands, our body, there are different major type of glands. Starting from the head region, we can see the important glands in the head region is pineal gland. Okay, then pituitary gland. Then also in head region there is an important gland, okay, called as there is an important gland in the head region called as hypothalamus, which controls pituitary. Hypothalamus that controls the pituitary gland. Then you can see in the neck region we have a thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. Then above the kidney we have adrenal glands. Then in the gonadal region, in the around in the abdominal region we have pancreas. Okay, then the gastrointestinal tract. The gastrointestinal tract of the animal, that which includes the stomach and the small intestine. Okay, Okay, I am not drawing it. I am leaving it here. That is the gastrointestinal tract, which is a source of gastrointestinal hormones. Gastrointestinal tract, source of gastrointestinal hormones. Abdominal region we have pancreas. Then around in the pelvic region we have a gonadal glands, for example ovaries in the female, the testis in the male, which are also the source of hormones. Okay, so you can see from head region we have pineal gland, pituitary gland and hypothalamus. In the neck region we have thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. Then gastrointestinal tract is a source of gastrointestinal hormones. In the abdominal region we have pancreas. Then above the kidneys we have adrenal gland, and then we have ovaries and testes, which are the source of hormones. Then a temporary structure, like if the placenta is formed, a temporary structure, placenta is a source of placental hormones. Placental hormones, okay, placenta is a placenta. Very important point about placenta is that the placenta is called temporary endocrine gland. This is an important point about the placenta. Placenta is a temporary endocrine gland. Okay, this point is asked many times. Which endocrine gland is called as a temporary endocrine gland? Right. So along with the placenta, you see adipose tissue is a source of hormones. Adipose tissue that acts as a source of hormones. For example, a very important hormone from the adipose tissue is leptin. Okay, so this adipose tissue is a source of hormones, right? And this adipose tissue is a source of a very important hormone called as leptin, right? That the leptin, it's involved in thermogenesis. It gives a feeling of satiety. It inhibits the appetite. It controls the appetite, right? That we are going to see all things. Then if you see your heart is a source of hormone called as atrial natriuretic peptide. Okay, the heart is a source of hormone, that is atrial natriuretic peptide, which causes the natriuresis or excretion of sodium ions and reduces the blood pressure. Then you see the kidneys here. Okay, the kidneys is a source of important hormones, for example renin, then erythropoietin, okay, and then vitamin D3. So kidney is also a source of important hormone, is a source of some hormones. Kidneys, even liver also secretes some amount of erythropoietin. In short form, it is called EPO. Okay, so that 90% of erythropoietin comes from the kidneys and 10% of erythropoietin comes from the liver. Okay, so they are the major endocrine glands of our body. We'll see them one by one. Okay. So let us see some overview of endocrinology. Okay, like firstly we'll see these major endocrine glands and the hormones produced by them. For example, you see hypothalamus. Hypothalamus, most important point about the hypothalamus is that you see it is a, a central agent, a key agent, that is a junction of nervous physiology and hormone physiology. Okay, so it is a it acts as a neuroendocrine coupler. Okay, or acts as a neuroendocrine, a point of neuroendocrine junction. Okay, so hypothalamus, you can say it is a neuroendocrine coupler. Okay, that is, it joins the nervous physiology, nervous system and endocrine system. Okay, it joins, okay, or helps in the communication between nervous system and endocrine system. Okay. So this is an important point about this one, hypothalamus. It acts as a junction of endocrine system and nervous system. Okay, so basically if you see in the nervous system, a nervous part, okay, so this hypothalamus is a part of autonomic nervous system. Okay, you know that the hypothalamus is the part of autonomic nervous system. Okay, and hypothalamus here also controls the endocrine system, controls the pituitary. Okay, hypothalamus secretes hypothalamus secretes different releasing hormone and inhibitory hormone which controls pituitary gland. That controls the pituitary gland. Okay, so hypothalamus secretes different types of releasing hormone and inhibitory hormone which controls the pituitary gland. So in this way, the hypothalamus, controls the endocrine system also, and controls the nervous system also, and acts as a junction. Okay, a junction of communication of nervous system and endocrine system. So by this way, you can see that the main point of focus is that both the nervous system and endocrine system. Okay, so here from this discussion we are coming to a point that both the nervous system and endocrine system acts together to regulate the homeostasis of the body. Okay, both the nervous system and endocrine system act together to regulate homeostasis. Okay, this is the important point that we are reaching. ठीक है, both the nervous system, you can see both the nervous system and endocrine system दोनों साथ में काम करते हैं, नर्वस सिस्टम एंडोक्राइन सिस्टम, और मिलकर बॉडी के होम्योस्टेसिस को कंट्रोल करते हैं. यू नो होम्योस्टेसिस राइट, हमने बहुत बार डिस्कशन किया. मेंटेनेंस ऑफ कांस्टेंट इंटरनल एनवायरनमेंट और अ नॉर्मल कांस्टेंट इंटरनल एनवायरनमेंट इन द बॉडी इज होम्योस्टेसिस. सो ये दोनों साथ में हेल्प करते हैं. बट द इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग इज दैट इन this nervous system is very fast. You know, it can act, nervous system बहुत fast act करता है. nervous system can act very fast. It can act 1/10 of the second, बहुत fast है. जबकि endocrine system takes minimum 30 seconds to act. But again, important thing is that though the nervous system action is fast, but its last short. Okay, it remains only for short time. Okay, the effect remains only for short time. उसके बहुत फास्ट काम करता है नर्वस सिस्टम, लेकिन उसके इफेक्ट शॉर्ट टाइम के लिए होते हैं. एंडोक्राइन सिस्टम स्लोली काम करता है, 30 सेकेंड और स्लो होता है, लेकिन उसके इफेक्ट लॉन्गर टाइम के लिए रहते हैं. वेरी फास्ट एक्ट इन 1/10 of second, but the effect effects last for short time. Effects last only for short time. But if you see, opposite to this, endocrine system is somewhat slow, takes minimum 30 seconds to act. ठीक है, इसको मिनिमम 30 सेकेंड चाहिए काम करने के लिए. टेक्स मिनिमम 30 seconds to act. Okay, endocrine system needs minimum 30 seconds to act, but effects last very long. इसके जो इफेक्ट्स होते हैं बहुत लॉन्ग टाइम के लिए रहते हैं. सो दिस इज अ कंपेरेटिव एनालिसिस बिटवीन द नर्वस सिस्टम एंड एंडोक्राइन सिस्टम एंड देयर इफेक्ट ऑन द फिजियोलॉजी ऑफ बॉडी. So coming to the let us see now how these hormones act. What are the different mechanisms by which these hormones act? Okay, different mechanisms of hormone action. Now to understand the mechanism, we see there are two classes of mechanism. Mainly, there are two classes of hormones: protein hormones and steroid hormones. Okay, they are the main two classes of hormones. Protein hormones, because of their bigger size and charge, they can't enter inside the cell, so they bind to the cell membrane only. Okay, by the receptor proteins. While the steroid hormones, they are lipid soluble, they enter inside the cell, so their receptors are inside the cell. Okay, so the important thing is that here hormones act through their receptors. Okay, important point is that hormones acts on the target cells, okay, by means of receptors. So the receptors should be present on their target cell. Okay, so हार्मोन का कोई टारगेट सेल तभी होगा. ओके, अ सेल इज अ टारगेट सेल फॉर अ हार्मोन इफ इट हैज़ गॉट रिसेप्टर्स फॉर दैट हार्मोन. ठीक है, कोई जो टारगेट और कोई जो ऑर्गन है, किसी हार्मोन का टारगेट ऑर्गन तभी होगा जब उसके ऊपर उस हार्मोन के रिसेप्टर्स प्रेजेंट होंगे. ठीक है, सो द हार्मोन्स क्योंकि अपने रिसेप्टर्स के थ्रू एक्ट करते हैं. हार्मोन्स एक्ट थ्रू binding with their receptors. Hormones act through binding with their receptors. ओके, अपने रिसेप्टर्स के साथ बाइंड करके ही काम करते हैं. ओके, सो these receptors are present on their target cells. अभी मैंने बोला जो रिसेप्टर्स किस पे प्रेजेंट होंगे, हार्मोन के टारगेट सेल्स पे ही होंगे. ओके, रिसेप्टर्स okay, so this is a target cell, right? The cell that contains the receptors for the hormone, okay, are called target cells. and वो cells जिसमें किसी हार्मोन के रिसेप्टर्स प्रेजेंट होते हैं वो उस हार्मोन का टारगेट सेल होता है. रिसेप्टर्स प्रोटीन्स होते हैं. दे रिसेप्टर्स आर प्रोटीन प्रेजेंट ऑन और इनसाइड द टारगेट सेल्स. ठीक है, किसी टारगेट सेल के ऊपर भी हो सकते हैं सेल मेम्ब्रेन पे, और टारगेट सेल के अंदर भी हो सकते हैं. ठीक है, ये रिसेप्टर्स और हार्मोन्स इन रिसेप्टर के साथ बाइंड करके ही अपना एक्शन प्रोड्यूस करते हैं. ओके, नाउ as I told, these hormones can be broadly classified into two types: protein hormones and steroid hormones. Protein hormones, they are those hormones, okay, which because of their larger size cannot enter inside the cell, and moreover they are negatively charged. So because of their larger size and negative charge, they cannot enter inside the cell, so their receptors are present on the surface. Steroid hormones are lipid solubles. They can enter inside the cell. Their receptors are present, within the cell or within the cytoplasm of the cell or in the nucleus of the cell. And on the other side, if you see thyroid hormone, it can also enter inside the cell, and its receptors are present in the nucleus only. So we can write it as hormones. They are mainly in one class. We can keep protein hormones and the group called catechol amines, which includes epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine. Okay, so their receptors are on cell membrane. इनके रिसेप्टर्स सेल मेम्ब्रेन के ऊपर होंगे. Second thing you see, steroid hormones steroid hormones, okay, they are lipid soluble, their receptors are in cytoplasm of cell. ओके, स्टेरॉयड हार्मोन्स है लिपिड सोल्यूबल और इसके रिसेप्टर्स कहाँ प्रेजेंट होंगे? सेल के साइटोप्लाज्म में या फिर सेल के न्यूक्लियस में भी हो सकते हैं. द रिसेप्टर्स आर इन साइटोप्लाज्म ऑफ द सेल और न्यूक्लियस ऑफ सेल. स्टेरॉयड हार्मोन्स के जो रिसेप्टर्स होते हैं या तो सेल के साइटोप्लाज्म में भी होते हैं, कुछ बुक्स में साइटोप्लाज्म लिखा रहता है, पर अगर आप अभी नया ड्यूक्स फिजियोलॉजी देखेंगे तो उसमें न्यूक्लियस भी दिया हुआ है. जबकि गाइटन फिजियोलॉजी देखेंगे, मेडिकल फिजियोलॉजी बाय गाइटन, तो उसमें साइटोप्लाज्म ऑफ सेल भी दिया है. तो लिपिड सोल्यूबल स्टेरॉयड हार्मोन्स के जो रिसेप्टर्स होंगे वो साइटोप्लाज्म में भी हो सकते हैं या फिर न्यूक्लियस में भी हो सकते हैं सेल के. और उसके बाद बचा थायराइड हार्मोन्स. थायराइड हार्मोन्स, तो इसके रिसेप्टर्स न्यूक्लियस के अंदर ही होते हैं. रिसेप्टर्स आर विद इन न्यूक्लियस. ठीक है, थायराइड हार्मोन्स के जो रिसेप्टर्स होंगे वो न्यूक्लियस के अंदर होंगे. रिसेप्टर्स आर विद इन द न्यूक्लियस. ओके, इसके रिसेप्टर्स न्यूक्लियस के अंदर होंगे. राइट, तो इस बेसिस पे आप देखेंगे क्योंकि प्रोटीन हार्मोन प्रोटीन हार्मोन्स अपने रिसेप्टर्स के साथ सेल मेम्ब्रेन पर बाइंड करता है. अब आप देखोगे कि क्योंकि प्रोटीन हार्मोन्स अपने रिसेप्टर्स के साथ सेल मेम्ब्रेन पे बाइंड करता है, राइट। और वो सेल के अंदर इंटर नहीं कर सकता, उसके रिसेप्टर्स सेल मेम्ब्रेन पे होते हैं और सेल मेम्ब्रेन को अपने रिसेप्टर के साथ बाइंड करता है। तो उसका जो इफेक्ट फिर सेल के अंदर कैसे जाएगा, तो जब वो सेल मेम्ब्रेन के साथ अटैच होता है अपने रिसेप्टर्स के साथ सेल मेम्ब्रेन पे, तो सेल के अंदर कोई चेंजेस प्रोड्यूस करता है, कोई सिग्नलिंग ट्रांसमिट करता है, जिसके कारण सेल के अंदर एक नया मॉलिक्यूल का फॉर्मेशन होता है और वो सेल के अंदर जो चेंजेस हैं उनको प्रोड्यूस करता है। और ये जो नया मॉलिक्यूल बनता है सेल के अंदर हार्मोन के बाइंड करने से, ये नया मॉलिक्यूल को हम बोलते हैं सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर। ओके, तो हार्मोन हो गया फर्स्ट मैसेंजर जो कि मैसेज लेके आ रहा है, और वो सेल के अंदर एक नए मॉलिक्यूल का फॉर्मेशन करवाता है अटैच करके, जो कि हार्मोन के इफेक्ट को कंटिन्यू करते हैं। सो दैट मॉलिक्यूल इज कॉल्ड सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर. So they have a receptors on cell membrane. Okay. So protein hormone effects are mediated by formation of a new molecule inside the cell, which is called, this new molecule formed is called as secondary messenger. This new molecule is called secondary messenger. That's why this protein hormone itself is called as first messenger. ठीक है, तो प्रोटीन हार्मोन सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर हो गया, सॉरी प्रोटीन हार्मोन फर्स्ट मैसेंजर हो गया, और जो वो नया मॉलिक्यूल का फॉर्मेशन करता है प्रोटीन हार्मोन का बाइंड करने से जो न्यू मॉलिक्यूल फॉर्म होता है सेल के अंदर, वो हो गया सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर, या फिर इसको आप सेकंड मैसेंजर भी बोलते हैं, सेकंड मैसेंजर। जैसे इसका एग्जांपल क्या हो गया सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर या सेकंड मैसेंजर का, वी हैव अ डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ एग्जांपल्स लाइक साइक्लिक एएमपी, cyclic GMP, calcium ions, calmodulin, but most important secondary messenger you have is cyclic AMP, जो सबसे कॉमन होता है. Okay, it is a most important or most common secondary messenger. So let us see some mechanism of protein hormone action first, and then, so here an important thing that you should know or should understand is second messenger is not required for steroid hormones. Okay, important line is that a second messenger is not needed for or is not needed in case of steroid hormone. स्टेरॉयड हार्मोन के एक्शन में सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर की ज़रूरत नहीं है. ओके, द सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर, और आई कैन राइट हियर आल्सो secondary messenger, the secondary messenger not needed for secondary messenger is not needed for steroid hormone. Secondary messenger is not required for the action of steroid hormones. So with this discussion, let us see the mechanism of action of protein hormones. Okay, so protein hormones, as I told, it acts by the acts by the secondary messengers. Okay, protein hormones acts by the secondary messengers. Its receptors are present on cell membrane. So by using the secondary messenger, there are two modes of or two mechanisms of action of protein hormones. There are two different types of secondary messengers can be involved. The most common type secondary messenger is cyclic AMP. In other case, it can act by the through the inositol triphosphate and calcium. Inositol triphosphate and calcium. So probably you can say calcium is the secondary messenger in the other case. So let us see. We are going to see mechanism of protein hormone action. We are going to see the mechanism of action of protein hormones. Okay, so in there are two possibilities, case 1 and case 2. Okay, there are two possibilities of mechanism of action of protein hormone, or they can act by two mechanisms. Okay, the mechanism 1 and mechanism 2, or we can say case 1 or mechanism 1, case 2 or mechanism 2. Okay, mechanism 1 and mechanism 2. So in both cases, their receptors are called GPCR. Okay, the receptors of these protein hormones are called GPCR. GPCR means G protein coupled receptor. Okay, it is why it is called G protein coupled receptor, because the inside surface of the receptor is in close apposition, or it contains a protein which binds with a nucleotide called guanine. Okay, it's a guanine binding protein, okay, on the inside surface of the receptor. So this receptor is called G protein coupled receptor. Okay, right? Now this receptor, okay, if you see it is called as a G protein coupled receptor, right? This G protein coupled receptor, if you see, if this is a cell membrane, okay, and this is a G protein coupled receptor, Then on the inside surface, okay, it has three subunits. Okay, on the inside surface it has three subunits. G alpha, G beta, and G gamma. Okay, there are three subunits on the inside surface of this receptor: G alpha, G beta, G gamma. And this G alpha is bound with a nucleotide. It is bound with a nucleotide called as GDP. Normally it is bound with a nucleotide called GDP. GDP is guanosine diphosphate. It's a guanosine diphosphate. Okay, this GDP is a guanosine diphosphate. This GDP क्या है? Guanosine diphosphate है, and it contains a nitrogenous base called guanine. It contains a nitrogenous base called guanine. It contains guanine. Okay, it contains guanine. So because you see this receptor is a protein, and the inside surface of this receptor contains the protein, that is the G alpha, G beta and G gamma subunits proteins, which are actually nucleotide binding. It binds with a nucleotide guanine. So this receptor is called G protein coupled receptor. Okay, this receptor is a G protein coupled receptor. It is present for both. Okay, it is a most for action of protein hormones. Most common for the action of protein hormones. Okay, so in mechanism 1, okay, as I told, in mechanism 1, the protein hormone is going to act through the secondary messenger cyclic AMP, and in mechanism 2, this protein hormone is going to act through the secondary messenger called calcium. ठीक है, mechanism 1 में ये प्रोटीन हार्मोन जो है वो एक सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर साइक्लिक एमपी के थ्रू काम करता है, और मैकेनिज्म 2 में ये जो प्रोटीन हार्मोन है वो सेकेंडरी मैसेंजर कैल्शियम के थ्रू काम करता है. सो इन मैकेनिज्म 1 and if you compare mechanism 2, if you compare mechanism 1 and mechanism 2, it acts, the protein hormone acts through the secondary messenger, cyclic AMP. Okay, and this cyclic AMP stimulates protein kinase A. Okay, but in mechanism 2, if you see, the secondary messenger is calcium ions. Okay, secondary messenger are calcium ions. okay, and it stimulates protein kinase C. Okay, it stimulates protein kinase C. So this mechanism actions we are going to see in detail, okay, in the coming classes. Roughly you can see this is the mechanism one, in which the G alpha subunit, this G alpha subunit is attached with the GDP. Okay, it is in inactive form, right? When this G alpha subunit combines with the GTP, okay, when this G alpha subunit combines with the GTP, it becomes active form. In active form, it goes and binds with an enzyme called as adenyl cyclase, and adenyl cyclase becomes active. The adenyl cyclase converts ATP into cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP acts as secondary messenger. It stimulates protein kinase A. The inactive protein kinase A converts into active protein kinase A. That the function of protein kinase is phosphorylation. Protein kinase enzymes always phosphorylates. So it phosphorylates the regulatory proteins and enzymes, and hormone action is produced. And when this again after some times this GTP will become, GTP will be broken down into GDP. Again after some time this GTP will be broken down into GDP, okay, and then this G alpha will become inactive. As a result, G alpha becomes inactive and it separates from there. In a second mechanism of action, as you can see, when the G alpha become active by binding with GTP, it activates an enzyme called phospholipase C. Okay, this enzyme is phospholipase C. Phospholipase C breaks down into phosphatidyl inositol diphosphate into inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerol. Inositol triphosphate stimulates the sarcoplasmic reticulum, or you can say endoplasmic reticulum, for release of calcium ions. Okay, the calcium ions and the diacylglycerol available stimulates the enzyme called protein kinase C. This is a protein kinase C, and then as a result, protein kinase C causes phosphorylation of effector proteins in the cells, and the action is produced. Okay, there are some other actions, like we'll discuss the different types of action of insulin hormone, which acts through the receptor tyrosine kinase mechanism. This is a receptor tyrosine kinase mechanism. We are going to see it. That is, the receptor acts like a tyrosine kinase. This is a mechanism of insulin hormone. We'll see in details. It activates the relay proteins. It causes the phosphorylation of relay proteins, and action is produced. Then there is one. This is the mechanism of action of steroid hormones. They are steroid hormones. Their receptors are located in the cell membrane inside the cytoplasm or nucleus. They bind with the receptor. The steroid hormone receptor complex binds with a transcription factor. Then the entire complex attaches with a segment of a DNA. It may cause transcription and translation. Transcription will produce messenger RNA, and then the translation will produce proteins. translation will produce proteins and enzymes, and the action will be produced. This mechanism of action we will see detail in the next class. Okay, till then, thank you for now. Okay, thank you.